Hello and welcome to the Computer Learning channel by Accelerate Computer Systems. My name is Arun and I'll be your trainer for you today. On this channel, our goal is to explain technical concepts in a very easy to understand language and provide more examples and visual references. I personally learn things by looking at it, so our efforts are to make these interactive and show you more examples. We have already explored what is networking in our previous video. We know how a packet travels from one computer to the other, and that a computer needs a MAC address or media access control address and an IP address or Internet Protocol address to be able to send communication with other computers. In this lesson, we will learn about DNS or domain name system. All right, let's go. Let's take a scenario. You want to look for something and open browser and type in google.com and press enter. You see Google website. If you want to go to Yahoo, you enter yahoo.com, press enter, and you see the Yahoo website. Now, if you want to check out the website of CNN, to do that, you enter cnn.com and press enter key, and you see the CNN website. How does the browser know where that website is stored? Note that every website that we have seen is linked to an IP address in the background. How does the browser know or gets to know which IP address to go to when we type google.com or yahoo.com or cnn.com? So how does the browser know the exact IP address of every website? Where's this information stored? Before we go into it, let's try and understand the different part of a website name. And you might ask, why is that important? It is important because the computer searches for the website based on these different components of a website name. Let's have a look. A complete website name is called a fully qualified domain name. For example, www.google.com is a fully qualified domain name or FQDN. If you write google.com without the www at the beginning, that is not a fully qualified domain name. You might ask why it is important to know about fully qualified domain name to understand DNS. Well, there were approximately 1.13 billion websites in 2023 according to dataprot.net. I'm very sure this number would have increased exponentially by now that we are in 2024. It is difficult for any system to go through so many websites to look for one specific site and fetch its details quickly. This is why these websites are indexed, and specific servers look for a specific part of a website name instead of looking for the entire website within these 1.13 billion sites, so that the destination website information can be searched very quickly. Now let's understand it with an example of a site, www.test.com. Now the ending .com is called a top level domain. According to ICANN, there are 1,447 top level domains that include .net, .co.uk, .biz, .shop, etc. etc. This also means that websites with the ending .com might be stored on a different server than the sites ending with .net. The word test in this website name is the domain name or the second level domain. So technically this is the main website name. And to the left of the name, you will see subdomain. For example, sometimes you might see mail.google.com or docs.google.com. Here, .com indicates the TLD or top level domain. The word Google indicates the domain name, or mail or docs indicates the subdomain. In our example, HTTPS is the protocol. Together, test.com is called the root domain, and www.test.com would be called a fully qualified domain name. There are servers that contain information about specific parts of an FQDN or fully qualified domain name, and they help in looking for an IP address of the specific website. These are recursive server, root server, TLD or top level domain server, and authoritative name servers. Let's have a look at these individually as to what they do. As we discussed earlier, we should understand that every website is linked to an IP address in the background. It is easier for humans to remember words rather than IP addresses, which is why we use website names. But in the background, they all need to have an IP address that is linked to them. In this image, the red lines that you see are the fiber optic cables that are running throughout the world. I just wanted to show this to you so that you know how we are able to connect to people across the world. When I was very new to computers and I was using Wi-Fi, I always wondered how I was able to access website that was stored on a server in a different country using Wi-Fi. I could not imagine that we use under the sea cable to connect every computer on this planet. I find it amazing personally. Although fiber optic is very fast, you can still notice the difference in speed if the server of a website is located very far from a location. This is one of the reasons companies have servers in different parts of the world so that they are able to retrieve information quickly. Okay, back to our topic. Let's assume that you are sitting in Canada and you want to access www.google.ca. If your computer does not have the IP address in its cache, it sends a request to the ISP or the Internet Service Provider. I will show you how this cache looks in a bit. If the ISP has the information in its cache or in its record, it returns this information back to you. If not, the recursive server at ISP takes up this job of finding out this information. So the recursive server becomes the coordinating server and sends message to the root server. Interesting to note that there are 13 root servers according to IANA.org, which is the Internet Assigned Number Authority that manages which manages the domain names, global IP, and AS or autonomous systems and protocol numbering. Root server has indexed information about the top level domain server, like we discussed, .com, .net, etc. In our case, the top level domain is .ca. Remember that Google can have several websites, including google.com, google.co.uk, etc., etc. The root server finds out the server which deals with the top level domain specific to the request and returns this information back to the recursive server. Now this recursive server sends the request to the top level domain server, and this TLD server checks information and provides details about the authoritative name server that has the requested information. Now the recursive server sends this information to the authoritative name server, which has the IP address for the website. Once it gets this information, it returns the same to your computer. Now your computer reaches out to the IP address it received from the recursive server and fetches the website, and you are able to view the web page www.google.ca on your browser. Isn't that a lot of back and forth between recursive server and others? Well, yes, but the computers, they work so fast in the background and they fetch information within seconds or probably less than a second, and we are able to see the website on the browser. Let's have a look at the DNS cache on our computer. It is very interesting to look at, and it provides some very important information. Let's have a look. On your computer, you can open command prompt and type ipconfig /display DNS and press enter. You should see details of the website you have visited along with the IP address. Just wanted to show you how to see the DNS cache. Let's discuss some important information shown here, which is really useful. When we look at the information returned, we get a lot of information. Let's check this in some detail. First information that I want to highlight is the website name and IP address. This provides information about the IP address which is linked to that specific site. Here's another important information you can see. It is called time to live field. This field shows in seconds for how long information about this link will be retained in the memory or in the cache before it expires. I would like you to check this information in front of the IP address. Now it says this is an A record. An A record simply means that the record includes IPv4 address for a specific website. If the record says quad A or AAA record instead of A record, then it simply refers to the IPv6 address for the website. It is interesting to note that DNS has a lot of different records for a website. Now this information can help the user in accessing different resources for the website. For example, getting IP address, the information about email server, etc. Let's have a look at some of these records. We have already discussed the first type of record called A record, which contains the IP address of the site, as we have already seen. Note that this record refers to the IPv4 address. And the AAA record refers to IPv6, like we saw. The next record that I wanted to highlight is called CNAME record. CNAME record, or the canonical name record. And you might ask, what is the use of a CNAME? Well, it helps us access the complete website, even if we enter partially qualified domain name. Let me explain. When we know that fully qualified domain name includes subdomain, domain, and top-level domain, an example of which is www.google.com. Now this means that to be able to reach this site, you need to enter the complete name, that is www.google.com. Many times we just enter google.com without the www, and we are still able to see the site. Now this is because google.com has been entered in the background as the CNAME. In other words, this record has alias for the website. It makes easy for the users who do not need to enter the complete website address to be able to access it. The next record that I wanted to talk about is called MX record. Now this record is used for the purpose of email exchange. This record tells the computer the address where the mail server for the website is located. This record is used by the message transfer agent, or MTA, to look for the mail server while sending emails. Another record type that we should discuss is called a TXT record, or a text record. This record is basically used for verifying domain ownership. Many third-party services require domain owners to prove that they own the domain. The process is very simple. If you want to verify to Google that you own the domain, you need to log into your domain, create a TXT record, and enter information provided by Google. Let me show you visually. Let's say you are working with Microsoft and need to verify that you own the domain www.contoso.com. Microsoft provides you certain information. You need to log in to your domain management website and create a new TXT record and enter the information provided. It may take some time before this information is propagated. In the background, Microsoft will fetch the text record or TXT record and check if the TXT record on your domain matches the information that it provided you. If it does, you are considered to be the legitimate owner of the domain. TXT records are really useful for checking if emails were sent from a legit domain, and there are other records used for that purpose, like SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records. But that is for a later lesson. For now, you need to know that TXT records are just that, text, and they can help in identifying domain ownership and help in curbing phishing. Alright, today we talked about an interesting topic of DNS, or domain name system. Let's recap what we learned today. We talked about fully qualified domain and its components, like the top level domain, second level domain, subdomain. And then we also discussed how a computer finds the IP address of a website. The recursive server at the ISP, which coordinates this whole process, it sends requests to one of the root servers first to find out which TLD or top level domain server it should contact to get information. Once received, this recursive server asks TLD server which authoritative name server has the DNS records for the site. Once TLD server responds, a request is sent to the authoritative name server requesting the desired record. If you want to visit the website, then the request is made for the A or AAAA record, which has the IP address. There are many different records that the authoritative name server has apart from just the IP address, which includes CNAME record, which is alias website names, MX record, which is used for finding out the mail server, and TXT record, which is used for verifying domain owner. Congratulations for learning, completing this lesson today with me. I hope the information provided was easy to understand. If you found the video helpful, do share it with your friends and family and consider subscribing so that you get notified about new videos that I post on this channel. I'm trying to create videos that are easy to understand and provide all the required information from the very basic to advanced at just one place. Please also share your thoughts about the videos in the comment section. And if you are in Canada and looking for a laptop which is reliable, high performance, but low cost, starting at just $400, then you can send me an email at the email flashing on your screen. Thank you so much for learning with me today. I will see you in the next video. Until then, happy learning.